What is up, everybody? I am your host, Shane Mallory, joined by my co-host,
Ricky DeCosta.
Tell the folks what time it is.
Run it back.
Time to run it back, coming off an epic week of NFL football. But beautiful people, before we go into the games, you know what I'm about to say. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I believe we're at 904 followers, so we're already under that 100 mark to get to 1,000. Pretty exciting things. Definitely had a lot of feedback, too, on a few of those reels.
Listen,
Got into it with some Detroit Lions fans.
We might have to do something nice for that 1,000 person, a T-shirt or something like that.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Yeah.
So we got
maybe the wife can hook it up, get us some nice little T-shirts to wear for the 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm with it. But you guys have all heard of Mallory's madness, okay? You heard that big time, okay, after that Cowboys debacle a couple weeks ago. But today we got a little special one for you. We're calling it Ragin' Ricky's Rant right here. My co-host is about to go on an epic rant, apparently, about this Chiefs versus Bills game. First of all, fantastic game. Really lived up to the billing. I think most people would admit that was the game they were looking to in this weekend.
Absolutely.
I felt it lived up to the billing. It really did deliver. It was great. But you want to go into your rant, so I'm just going to kind of give you the assist, hand it off to you.
I don't even want to
call
it a rant.
Take it away.
I just want to speak the truth.
Okay.
Right?
What is the truth, my good friend?
Cowboys, right?
Yes.
I just want to speak the truth, right? Everyone, the entire world was on the Bills. Right? The entire world was on the Bills.
Sure.
Everybody wanted Josh Allen to win, take down Patrick Mahomes.
You're saying more people were rooting for the Bills.
Yeah,
because there were definitely
Bills,
some people
right?
picking the Chiefs, but
everyone
I
in
got
Kansas City, right?
Sure. Nick Wright.
Absolutely, Nick Wright. I was one of those people that was on the Chiefs bandwagon.
Well, you picked against them enough times this year.
Listen, slow down.
I mean,
but here's the thing, right? And so everyone after the game is defending Josh Allen. He's the greatest quarterback, right? His team constantly lets him down, right? But no one, first of all, why are all these excuses for Josh Allen, right? Why can't Josh Allen ever man up and step up to the moment, right? Be there for his guys, makes his guys better, right? Now, listen, here's what I'm saying. Josh Allen, right? He didn't have the big turnover, right?
He did.
Josh Allen. Now here's the thing. He almost did though, and he had a fumble, right?
Yep.
So I'll get to that fumble shortly.
Yep.
But so he didn't have that big turnover to cost his team the game. But my problem with Josh Allen, and I want to say this because I went to school in Buffalo. I'm a big fan of Buffalo. They probably have the best fan base in that Bills Mafia. But you know what? I feel like Josh Allen is constantly selling them short because he does not win them the game. Right? Now, here's the thing. He didn't lose the game, which is the problem with him. He always throws that interception and costs them the game.
Sure.
But in this particular case, right, Josh Allen doesn't step up to set his team up for success. Now, I want to be clear when I talk about winning the game. My problem with Josh is that he literally takes the Superman thing to his head. He always wants to be the guy, the man, the reason why they win. Right? Instead of making the simple play, right, that puts your team in success to win the game. As I just mentioned, with about 5 minutes left in the game, Josh Allen on third down fumbles the ball and almost costs them the game. Why? He's trying to do it himself. He's trying to get the 10 yards, right, to get into field goal range so he can win the game, right? Then let's go to the end of the game, right? It is second down, okay? Everyone's talking about, oh, my God, Josh had this epic throw to Shakir, right? But because his offensive lineman didn't do his job, right, he couldn't step in to make the throw. All right, again, further excuses. Let's put the blame on someone else, right? Let's put the blame on the offensive lineman. First of all, Josh, you could have slid to the right? Pocket awareness, right? Move around in the pocket. Right? Help your offensive lineman out, right? He was going against Chris Jones, right? First, second best defensive tackle in the game,
sure.
Right? So you could slid to the right if you want to make that throw. Okay, that's one. Two, you want to talk about setting your team up for success, right? Stephon Diggs is wide open by himself. Literally, his defender is 5 yards away. right? That is an eternity, right? An epic amount of space in a defensive game. He could have just checked it down to Stephon Diggs. He would have ran for 8 yards. If he didn't get the first down, they would have been just short, right? And again, so that's second down.
Yep.
All right. But instead, he goes for the home run because he has to be the man and wins the game for the team, right? Okay, so that's one. 2, third down.
Is that him, though, trying to be the man or just trying to make a play?
Listen, is he trying? If you want to make a play, make the right play.
Okay.
A man is wide open.
Okay.
The defense is giving you Stephon Diggs. Okay, you want to talk? All right, let's dive in a little deeper. In the beginning of the season, I said, you know what? There was a little problem in that locker room. Something's going on with Josh, right? And Stephon Diggs, right? The Bills Mafia was coming after me, telling me I'm a hater, right? Now let me show you how there's problems, right? Look at what Patrick Mahomes did in this past game, right?
Sure.
Right? You can say
Extremely
this was
efficient.
You can say not even that, right? You can say this is this big epic game, right? Going up against Josh Allen, the man, right? So what does Patrick Mahomes does? Who does he get the ball to? His guy, Travis Kelce, 2 touchdowns, killing it. Right? In the biggest game of the season, what does he do?
Too, though. I mean,
He did okay,
too.
but Travis Kelce sent the message. He's here. Mind you, he is the guy on he is Patrick Mahomes' guy. And guess what? If you double him and you take him away, the Kansas City Chiefs usually don't do as well. But in the biggest game, Kelce still goes off. You want to know why? Patrick Mahomes makes sure he touches the rock. At the end of the day, I talked about this. Most sports, basketball, football especially, it's about energy. And you just want to catch the ball. You want to touch the ball, right? To get into the flow of the game, right? Well, guess what? How come Josh doesn't do that with Stephon Diggs? If he's your guy, how come he's not getting the rock? Now, you're probably going to say, well, he targeted him 8 times and he dropped the biggest catch of the game. Sure. Well, let's look back at that catch.
Oh, that's
right?
important.
Did he hit him in the chest?
Yeah.
Or did he have to jump in the air? The ball.
Personally, I thought he mistimed the jump, but go on.
Again, right? See, proving my point. Blame everybody but Josh Allen, right? Blame everybody except Josh Allen. If you got Stephon Diggs in the game, in rhythm, maybe he would have made that catch, come down with it and made that big play because he would have been in the game, the rhythm of the game, right?
Okay.
But instead, it's a dire situation. Hey, Stephon Diggs, come save me, right?
Yeah.
Make the biggest play of the game, even though I haven't been getting you the rock all game long.
Sure.
Right? But that's Stephon Diggs' fault, right? Okay, so again, my further issue, right? But yeah, when you look at the comparison, you want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, right? Take your notes. Take your notes,
yeah, no
right?
problem.
Versus Patrick Mahomes, he's going to get it to his best player. Look at Tom Brady and Gronk. Look at Patrick Mahomes and Stephon Diggs in the biggest moments, right? The best players get the game changers the ball. And Josh Allen did not do that, right? Stephon Diggs had 3 catches for 21 yards. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable, period, right? You want to talk about Josh doing better? Josh wants to be the man? Well, set your team up for success. Make the guys around you better. Do you realize that Josh Allen had 26 completions? 16 of them was behind the line of scrimmage. All he was doing was checking down to the back. But everyone said Josh Allen had an epic game. What, throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage? That's epic.
Yeah, he can run the ball too.
Okay, great. Yes, he ran the ball a couple of times. But how many times? Again, Josh Allen being Superman, right? Being Superman. He's got to do it all by himself so he can be the hero, right? It's a team game. How about you get Stephon Diggs involved?
I mean, he doesn't call the plays, but...
So you think every play was called for Travis Kelce? Right? No, Patrick Mahomes made sure he got his guy the ball. So when I talk about there's problems in Buffalo between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, this is why. Here in the biggest game, you do not get him the ball.
Sure.
Right? Go ahead. You want to talk about the 8 targets? Is that what you want to say?
No,
right?
You already brought that up.
We could talk about the fumble, like I said. We could talk about him not checking it down on second down.
Sure.
Now, again, third down, I didn't get a chance to say this, right? Kincaid is wide open. Right? Kincaid is wide open. So what's the excuse why he didn't get to Kincaid, right? Wide open, could have gotten that first down. Do you realize that, first of all, the Bills got the ball with 9 minutes left in the game.
Yes.
Right? They killed 7 minutes for no reason. They were so scared of Patrick Mahomes.
I agree with that.
Right?
I
they
totally
were
agree
so
with that.
scared of Patrick Mahomes.
But is that Allen or is that more team philosophy?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right? At the end of the day, who's the leader? That's Josh Allen. At the end of the day, now, here's the thing. Fine. You want to kill time? Check the ball down to Stephon Diggs. Check it down to Kincaid. Kill more time. But instead, you don't do it right because you go for the home run and you miss. Right? This is my problem. This is my problem.
Problem.
Right?
Extra pronunciation right there. I like that.
Listen, all I'm trying to say, Josh Allen is a great player. He really is a great player. But at the end of the day, right, he's just a better Phillip Rivers. Right? That's who he is.
Whoa.
Right? And I hate to say this because, like I
gotta
said,
say, I think he's a little more talented than Phillip Rivers.
I said he's a better Phillip Rivers, but that's all he is. He will always
So
be
then wouldn't that mean
will
he's
be a bridesmaid.
more than Phillip
He's
Rivers?
never going to be a bride.
Okay.
He's not going to be a bride.
Okay.
Right? Because at the end of the day, you're right, he shrinks,
Yeah.
right, in the biggest moment, right? Because the game is speeding up and he has to do it all instead of leaning on his team, leaning on his best player. Forget about the team, right? Stephon Diggs, right, is a top receiver in this league and you're not even getting him the ball, right? But yet you want him to save you, right, when you're in danger. That is my problem with Josh Allen, right? And at the end of the day, last thing I'll say, I'll leave you with this.
Go ahead.
No, I'll leave you with this, right? Josh Allen is this great player, right? Epic. Right? He's 5-5 in the playoffs. And everybody's talking about that, he just can't get past Patrick Mahomes, right? All right. So yes, he's 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes. Well, who did he beat? Right? Do you realize he beat Skylar Thompson? Right? He has 5 wins. Skylar Thompson, Deshaun Watson, Mason Rudolph.
You're talking about in his
right?
playoff games?
In his playoff games.
Okay.
Right? The one
I just wanted to
legitimate.
make sure I was
these are the
understanding,
quarterbacks that he beat. The one legitimate quarterback that he did beat was Lamar Jackson. But again, that's when they were both young in the game. That was probably Lamar's second playoff game ever. Right? But it was Josh Allen's third, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that away from him. Lamar's good.
I'm giving it to him.
Sure.
Right? So that's his one legitimate win, right? Everyone else, Patrick Mahomes is beating him. Burrow is beating him. And my problem is the Bills are getting old, right? Burrow's going nowhere.
At certain spots, sure.
Patrick Mahomes is not going anywhere.
Lamar's
we talked
not
about
going
this.
anywhere.
If not now, when?
Sure.
Right? And so at the end of the day, because Josh Allen hasn't made the proper decisions, right? The Buffalo Bills are in this position, right? You trusted a kicker, right? Instead of, right, checking it down, bleeding more clock, and going for the touchdown. You acted like you had the touchdown in the bag. But instead, you trusted a kicker. He missed, and now kicker's getting death threats. How about Josh Allen? You set your team up for success. Stop worrying about Patrick Mahomes and go score the ball.
Wow. So if I were going to ask you this one question while I look up one
Go
of the
ahead.
stats.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead. Save him.
Give me.
Shane Lowry. Josh Allen, savior.
No, I want you give me a percentage. If you're attributing blame to that loss, what percentage of the blame do you think goes to Josh Allen?
Listen, there's only 2 people I blame for that game.
Okay.
Josh Allen and the head coach, period. Right?
Josh Allen and the head coach.
Why? The coach called
I'm giving you the floor.
The coach called a fake punt with 12 minutes left in the game while you're down 3. Unacceptable, right? Unacceptable. Then, like I said, in the second half, once the game got tight, listen.
And if you're going to call that, you got to be much more creative with the play call than they came
now,
up
listen,
with.
I will. Here's what he saw, right? The Kansas City Chiefs only had 10 defenders on the field, right? But at the end of the day, right? So yes, that was an opportunity. However, right, the risk. I think it was like 4th and 4. Right? The risk versus the reward while you're down 3 with 12 and a half minutes left in the game, unacceptable, right? The Chiefs bailed them out because McCole Harmon fumbled, right, and they got the ball back, right? So then, like I said, Josh's decision-making and the missed opportunities, right? Everybody wants to talk about Josh Allen's stats, right? But you don't talk about the opportunities that he didn't make, and that's checking it down to Stephon Diggs, checking it down to Kincaid, right? These plays throughout the game that he missed, everybody wants to talk about what he made. The ones that he didn't take advantage of is why they ended up in this position.
Okay. So ultimately, you said all the blame goes to Allen and the head coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So nobody else gets blamed.
Okay, listen, you want to bring up the defense?
That's
you
why
I
wanted a percentage.
Right? You want to bring up the defense? Now, remember, who's calling the defense, right? That's the head coach, right?
Yes.
That's his number one job, right?
He's a defensive guy. That is correct.
So at the end, but here's the thing. They were going back and forth, right?
Yep.
So let's, for the most part, either team's defense didn't show up in that game, except the Kansas City Chiefs defense showed up in the second half.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yes, but the two people that I blame the most, the head coach, right?
So
Josh
50-50? Josh Allen gets 50, Sean McDermott gets the other 50?
If you want to say 40-40-20, the 20 is everyone else.
The 20 is everyone else. Okay. So, coming into this game last week, I think you forgot some of your own analysis because one of the things you brought up was the Kansas City defense was going to be able to hold the Buffalo Bills in check. Well, last I checked, Stephon Diggs is a member of the Buffalo Bills. And the reason that I want to bring his name up too as well is because a week prior, who did Kansas City play? The Miami Dolphins. Who plays receiver for the Miami Dolphins? Oh, that's right, Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Arguably the best receiver in the league. Held to 5 receptions for 62 yards. Who's a better receiver, Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs?
Tyreek Hill.
Okay. So if they held, let's give the Kansas City defense some credit here first too, right? If they held Tyreek Hill, the 5 receptions, 60 yards. Now, he did score 1 touchdown, but I think it was that kind of like
he had
crazy
one breakaway. He had one
kind
breakaway.
of crazy throw-up play.
Yep.
Is it that crazy to sit there and maybe give the Kansas City defense credit because Diggs was targeted 8 times. He only had 3 catches for a total of 21 yards, and they even tried to get him 1 carry in that game. Is it fair to maybe give the Kansas City defense some credit too and their ability to go and shut Diggs down? The reason I also bring that up was you were talking about a lot of throws behind the line of scrimmage. They tried to do that. What they did against Tyreek Hill was they basically just sagged off of him, and they trusted their ability to, he's going to make a catch, but we're going to rally up, and we're going to tackle him for no large gains. Well, Stephon Diggs, being not as fast or quite as dangerous, I would say, as Tyreek Hill, once he gets the ball in his hands, you throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage or even close to the line of scrimmage. For the most part, Kansas City has shown the ability to be able to tackle and shut down plays after the catch. All right. So first, I just want to say, let's give the Kansas City defense some credit as to maybe why Stephon Diggs didn't have quite the impact that we wanted him to.
So you're saying that the Chiefs won that game and the Bills didn't lose that game?
I would give more credit to the Chiefs ultimately winning that game than the Bills losing that game. Now, here's what I will say, too, on that. The Bills and Josh Allen, if I'm going to agree with you on anything with Josh Allen, he didn't make the crucial plays in that last drive, for example, okay, or when he needed to down the stretch.
Isn't that all that matters?
That eliminates him.
What does the first quarter matter? What does the second quarter matter? It's not how you start; it's how you finish. And at the end of the day, Josh Allen
by that
doesn't
definition,
finish.
Tim Tebow, I guess, should still be starting in the NFL, right? The first 3 quarters don't even matter. But I don't want to go back 10 years.
Tim
okay?
Tebow, though, really?
So we're gonna really.
So is that Josh Allen's level?
We're gonna really attribute though Josh Allen. How many points did the Bills score in that game? 24. 24. Josh Allen accounted for 21 of those points. So automatically I can already sit there and say, if you take Josh Allen off the team, who's to say they're even in that game at all? Like, he was the reason they were even in the game in the first place.
Who is saying take him off the team, right?
I'm not saying that.
And you're proving my point. Josh Allen has got to be Superman. That's why we got to defend him. That's why we got to save him. Where I said, how come
no, what I'm
Josh
saying is he
Allen
accounted for
can't
21
set
of their
his
24
team
points.
up for success?
Sure. So, going on further, I would think some of that was Josh's inability, especially in that last drive, to come up with the crucial play. I also thought some of the play calling really changed from the first half to the second half. First half, they were trusting Josh Allen. They were letting Josh Allen go out there and just make plays.
Wait, so what happened in the second half? So they trusted him in the first half,
Yes.
therefore they didn't
trust him in the second half.
But why didn't they? Why do you think they didn't trust him in the second half?
I don't know.
Is it because
he had 0 turnovers?
Wait. Could it be because of
zero
his
turnovers?
Could it be because of his history in the biggest moment? What is he gonna do? Fumble?
But why would
interception?
Why would
you? Could it be that? Could that be the reason?
Maybe, but why would you take it out of the guy's hands who got you the 17-13 lead in the first half in the first place? Why would you then all of a sudden veer away from that game plan? If that was working for you, if it ain't broke, don't break it. Right? He'd already gotten you a lead in the first half. All of a sudden, you moved away from him. You showed a lack of faith and confidence in him. And all of a sudden, he can't make the plays down the stretch. Don't you think that maybe that permeated him somewhat as well?
But there were plays to be made. That's the point. No, there were plays to be made, and he didn't make the plays. Checking down the Stephon Diggs.
In that one drive, sure.
Listen, they took up 7 minutes.
They shut Diggs down.
They took up 7 minutes.
Let's give Kansas City defense credit. They shut Diggs down.
There were opportunities to get Stephon Diggs the ball.
Uh-huh.
They didn't do it.
So again,
he didn't do it.
I want to go to your larger point. You are attributing the mass of the blame to Josh Allen when I've got Mahomes' numbers right here. Through a total of 23 passes, he completed 17. Good for a completion percentage of basically 74 if you round up. Okay, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 91.2 QBR, 131.6 passer rating. Scored on 5 of 6 meaningful drives when they needed. In other words, they didn't punt the ball until the fourth quarter of that game. Okay?
Right.
And
go ahead.
he, just like Josh Allen, so he targeted 8 different wide receivers, 7 caught passes. Josh Allen and this Bills team, what's gotten them in trouble in the past is it's basically become Josh Allen Superman combined with / get the ball to Diggs any way we want. But what got them here? Being able to distribute the ball to different receivers and balance their offense. Again, look at Allen's overall numbers. 39 total passes, 26 completions, 66%, 1 touchdown pass, 2 touchdowns rushing, scored on 4 out of 7 drives, okay, and completed passes to 9 different receivers. So Josh Allen distributed the ball extremely well, kept an overall balanced offense, and he contributed in both the passing and the run game. And he accounted for 21 of their 24 points. Who's to say if you don't go to him more in that second half and trust in him and put the faith in him, he isn't confident, goes ahead and goes and makes those plays. Instead of stretching out that,
run the
that
ball
one final
the entire
drive.
second half. He had opportunities to make plays, and he didn't. And as the game got tighter,
5 out of 6.
As the game got tighter, Josh Allen's decision-making got questionable. At the end of the day, the Bills fans deserve better. They deserve better.
So they should get a new quarterback? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying they should get a new quarterback. I am saying Josh Allen needs to step up. He needs to make good decisions. He needs to make his teammates better. Stop being Superman.
He also needs to be trusted to do so.
Right? The ball is always in his hands. Therefore, he is trusted.
There's a reason that they changed offensive coordinators this year. It wasn't a Josh Allen problem. It was a play calling problem.
It wasn't a Josh Allen's problem. Do you know that in the last 2 years, Josh Allen has 44 interceptions? Yes. Do you know how many?
He also has led the league in total touchdowns.
Do you know how many interceptions Lamar Jackson has in his career?
I'm not saying.
Do you know how many he has in his career?
Don't know.
44.
Okay.
So Josh Allen in 2 years has 44 interceptions.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson has 44 in his entire career. At the end of the day, it goes back to his decision making.
Yeah, we can always go to a different conversation here because, like, it kind of seems like we're almost having somewhat of a semantics debate on what is considered great, right?
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. Look. All I'm saying is, right. Well, first of all, Josh Allen is an extremely good quarterback, right? An extremely good quarterback.
Gotcha.
However, he's not that great, right? He's not that great, right? Because here's the thing. Burrow was hurt this year. The Kansas City Chiefs this is the worst that they've ever been, right? And yet you still couldn't take advantage of them. Yeah. Right? So that at the end
He's
of the day,
still a top 5 quarterback, and a Buffalo defense couldn't stop a nosebleed that game.
Listen,
they punted one time the entire game.
You're proving
you gotta
my point.
Put
it's always
some on the defense.
It is always everyone's fault except Josh Allen.
No, the first thing I said to you was Josh Allen didn't make the plays when he was given the opportunity to do so in the second half. That's totally fair.
And that's all that I'm saying. And that's why they are where they are.
But to give him the majority of the blame, I'm sorry, I just can't agree with that, man. I really can't. When the defense literally did not force a punt until the fourth quarter of that game, when Kansas City already had the lead.
At the end of the day, the defense got them the ball back, so Josh had the opportunity to win the game, and he did not. It all boils down to that.
Well, again, still goes back to the missed field goal for one. He got him in position to go and tie the game.
If you check the ball down, right, to Kincaid or Diggs, you have an opportunity to run out the clock, and you have an opportunity to score a touchdown.
If Buffalo ties that game at 27-27, he got them in position, he can't go and make the field goal. But let's say they tie that game. Are you blaming Josh Allen if Kansas City goes down the field in like a minute and scores to win the game?
I would still feel the same.
How do you not blame the defense?
I would still feel the same.
Yeah. So we'll just agree to disagree on that one.
Listen,
because, again, to give him the majority of the game, just looking at the stats, I don't understand how you can do that when he scored 21 of their 24 points. And They didn't force a punt on the Kansas City offense in the fourth quarter. Hats off to Patrick Mahomes. He's great, and so are the Kansas City Chiefs. And they have the experience, and the Bills did. And that was the difference in the game.
All I'm saying is Josh Allen, step up. Step up. Make your teammates better.
Yeah. Well, listen, maybe he'll have another opportunity somewhere down the line, but that was definitely a crushing loss for the franchise in general. But it was definitely not all Josh Allen's fault. And he was definitely not 50% of the blame. Packers versus 49ers. All right?
Oh, this is actually a great scenario because you know who was trash all game?
Who?
Brock Purdy. But you know who stepped up in the last drive to win the game?
Sure.
Right? Did what Josh Allen couldn't do?
Yeah. So can we get you on record right now as saying, are you basically trying to say right now that Brock Purdy is better than Josh Allen? No. Okay.
I didn't say
I
that.
just want to make sure.
But did Brock Purdy step up when it mattered and Josh did not?
He did. He did, absolutely. What'd you think of the game overall?
Listen, overall, much respect to the Green Bay Packers, right? Like I said, Matt LaFleur, I was wondering how good of a coach that he was. Jordan Love, right, really looks impressive. Hell of a game. They went out, they punched the 49ers in the mouth.
Ran the ball extremely well, spread the ball out to receivers.
It's very concerning with the 49ers. If one of those components are out, they don't look the same. It looks like Christian McCaffrey is their heart, and Debo is clearly their soul. And if Debo goes out, their identity is absolutely lost, right? And so now, yes, listen, were the conditions perfect? No, right? But that's football. And so Brock Purdy didn't seem like he could really throw the ball in those wet conditions.
Sure.
Right? And it seemed to be more in his head. But listen, at the end of the day, when it mattered most, because Kyle Shanahan was 0-30 in games where he was down by more than 5 leading into the fourth quarter. Now he's 1-30, and he's 1-30 because of Brock Purdy. So you got to give him the credit. Like, everybody was wondering, would Brock Purdy step up when it mattered the most? Yeah. And he did.
Here's what I'll say about that, too, and this is not to take anything away from Purdy. Yes, Purdy made some crucial plays on that drive, but just as much as he was responsible, Christian McCaffrey, too, as well. Scored the winning touchdown, too, as well. So, I mean, let's give props to the offensive player.
Why are you giving hate to Brock Purdy?
So, I'm not trying to hate on Purdy, but I will tell you.
You love Josh Allen, but you can't give Purdy a little bit of credit?
I have been one of the people that has stuck up for Purdy all throughout the year, but I have to be honest, that's the first time that I've seen in a game where I actually finally said to myself, I don't know if they can win a Super Bowl with this guy. I'm just not quite sure. Because if he struggles like that against another team, I mean, he can't be that way against any team he plays in the AFC.
That's what I feel about Josh Allen right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, comparing the two quarterbacks to me just seems almost silly. But Shanahan is another one that kind of threw me off. Came out, it's raining, and he, spreads the ball out trying to, go like the West Coast offense or something. I'm like, that's not who you are. You're not the 49ers. Listen, you got to line up and run the ball.
Listen, I really think they should have gotten George Kittle more involved. Sometimes I think they forget that he's there.
I agree.
He made two
caught a
crucial plays,
yeah.
right? Scored a touchdown, had a 30-yard run. When Debo went down, I expected them to go to him more, and he did not. Ayuk did not step up in the moment. He had one big crucial catch.
No, McCaffrey was huge in that game.
McCaffrey held it together. That defense stepped up with a couple big plays, even though they were getting run through most of the game. So, they did what they were supposed to do when it mattered.
Sure.
But I saw a lot of cracks. In their foundation.
The final thing I'll say is San Francisco is lucky they got it done here because watch out for the Green Bay Packers, man. They ain't going anywhere. They're going to be around for a while. They are extremely young. Okay. That new other running back, too, they have. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he emerged late this year, 31. He looks good. They have multitude of pass-catching weapons that are all 25 years or younger. And they got Jordan Love, who looks like he could be a potential future stud.
Now, he's got to do it again. He threw that big pick, right, on the last drive while he had time, right? So, again,
still young.
Making,
so is Purdy,
right?
So they have time.
Again, 2-minute drive. He had plenty of opportunity, but he didn't make it, right? So, again, those are the moments that we remember. Those are the moments that matter. Those are the moments that quarterbacks are judged by, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's Jordan Love, whether it's Josh Allen. You got to show up in the fourth quarter with under 5 minutes left.
It's fair. But listen, that's all the time we have for this first segment, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for segment number 2 when we run it back. What is up, everybody? I am your host, Shane Mallard, joined by my co-host, Ricky DaCosta. And guess what? It is time for segment number 2.
And we still got problems.
Run it back.
We still got problems.
Yeah, no.
Like the entire break, we're talking about this Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs game.
My partner seems to think that if you give up a field goal, it's not points.
His audacity is to say the defense did not play well, right, because they held the Kansas City Chiefs to 2 field goal attempts, right, earlier in the game. So my thing is like, wait, if the defense prevents a touchdown, how is that not successful?
They didn't
right?
force a punt until the fourth quarter.
If it's a 3-point game, right, into the fourth quarter, they get set up in their own red zone by a crappy fake punt. They create a turnover by punching the ball out and then let it knock out into the
you mean the turnover
end zone,
that you said where
right?
he was down on?
Then, right, they stopped him with 9 minutes left to give Josh Allen the ball back, and he doesn't win the game, but that's all the defense fault, right?
Oh, I didn't say it was. No.
That's
actually not what I said.
According to him, it's all the defense fault because they didn't stop the Kansas City Chiefs enough. They gave up points, period.
Nope.
Period. They didn't prevent any touchdowns or field goals, and so therefore it's the defense's fault.
I have to get a new TV, though, because apparently we watched a different game. Because the game I saw, I watched the defense not be able to force a punt until the fourth quarter of that game. That, my friend, hold on. They
punched the ball out in the red zone for a touchback.
That is what's called a stop, my friend, when you give up 0 points on a drive. Now, it's better to give up.
What do you call?
Better to give up 3 than 7.
What do you call in the red zone when you punch the ball out for a touchback? That's not a stop.
I call it the one stop you finally made in the game.
So the next play, right? Because that was with 12 minutes left. The next drive when they stopped the Kansas City Chiefs, right, for a 3 and out to give the ball back to the offense. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Say it again.
With 12 minutes left in the game, right? They stopped them in the end zone for the touchback, right? Gave the ball back to the Bills. The Bills gave the ball back to Kansas City Chiefs, right? Kansas City Chiefs get stopped 3 and out, right, by that defense. Right? With 9 minutes left in the game. That doesn't count.
See this? 3 points. You know what that represents? The number of points that the Bills lost by. So, if the Bills had stopped one of those drives from 3 points, we're having a whole different conversation.
If Josh Allen just checked the ball down to Stephon Diggs or Kincaid, we're having a different discussion. If Josh Allen learns how to shift in the pocket.
Because we can't judge. Right? We can't judge what happens if that play doesn't happen. But if they can just stop one field goal. All they have to do is stop one field goal.
You're saying stop one field goal. I'm just saying Josh Allen checked down the ball one of 2 times.
But he was checking the
because wait. You want to talk about field goals? Do you realize if Josh Allen checks down the ball, achieves another 5 yards, that same kicking attempt on offense they probably would have made because those 5 yards would have made a difference? Do you realize that?
Maybe. Wind was strong either way.
But do you also realize that if he checks it down the second time, it's even a closer field goal? Right?
Sure.
Is that not the case?
Yeah.
So if we want to talk about field goals, let's go back to decision-making to get the ball closer for a better field goal attempt. Does that not count?
Basically,
but it's all the defense fault.
Basically, no. But if you're going in a majority pie chart, I would give more blame to the defense than I would Josh Allen. That's all. When you couldn't stop them until the fourth quarter. I mean, what?
But they stopped
Josh
them.
Josh is literally supposed to be Superman.
Did they not stop him and give them?
So your whole point was Josh Allen has to be Superman, but if your defense is going to stop anybody, then what else can he do?
They stopped them 2 times in the fourth quarter in the most critical moment and created a turnover in the form of a touchback.
Again, a stop means no points. But we got to talk about basketball right now, okay? And you know who didn't have a problem scoring points last night?
Embiid.
Joel Embiid, okay? Don't worry, the majority of the audience agrees with me, so we can just move on.
You know,
so
we're
Joel
talking about basketball,
Embiid,
you know what this reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
Here's the difference what we're talking about, right?
Go ahead.
Joel Embiid, right, dropped 70 points.
He did.
Wins the game, i.e. Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
However,
regular season game, not exactly apples to apples.
Karl Anthony Towns dropped 62 points,
yeah,
right, and loses the game. But let's dive into the numbers. Do you realize that Karl Anthony Towns dropped 62 points? How many points did he drop in the fourth quarter when it mattered? 4. 4. That is not showing up in the big moment. And it's the point that I've been making this entire show. You got to show up in a big moment. Whether it's basketball, whether it's football, you got to show up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, when we have like GOAT and greatest of all time debates, it's going to be very interesting to see how I corner you into these arguments
Results
multiple times.
matter.
But
and fourth quarter, Karl Anthony Towns didn't show up. 4 points. Joel Embiid, 70.
So Embiid
70. And Joel Embiid was playing Wembanyama, right? And what did he do? He taught that young boy a lesson.
So why don't I take your logic and then use it somewhat against you? It's a regular season game. He dropped 70 points. Who cares? Has Embiid done that in the playoffs? Has Embiid gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals in the playoffs? You think Embiid is great, right? You see that? What we call that in this business is a logic chokehold.
Definitely not.
Yeah, logic chokehold.
Right? Like, first of all, it's not playoff time yet. It's the regular season, right? But let me ask you this. Okay, let me ask you this, right? Who do you have more faith in right now that's going to make a better playoff run? Right? The Philadelphia 76ers, right? Or the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, how am I basing that?
All I'm saying is, based on what you've seen to date, right? Who do you think is going to have a better playoff run? Right? If you want to know, right? Philadelphia is third in the East, while Minnesota is number 1 in the West.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
So I'm asking you a question, right? Since results don't matter that much, right? So who do you think is going to have a better playoff run?
It's an interesting question, and I'll tell you why. Because while Minnesota is number 1 in the West, in the tougher conference of the two, I would say, in my opinion, the one thing I do like is playoff experience. So for me, Minnesota's a little bit of an unknown because they're performing this well in the regular season, but can they perform up to this standard in the playoffs? Now, two things that they have working for them. They're a very good defensive team because of their length, and they have a tremendous front line in Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, which we've seen through playoffs past is crucial in advancing in the NBA playoffs.
So stop dancing. Who are you picking?
To advance further, I would actually go Minnesota right now.
Minnesota.
I'd go Minnesota.
Christ.
I would.
So
wait.
Wait.
There's one other part to that too.
Go ahead.
They have a young and emerging star in Anthony Edwards, who can just go and get a bucket on about anybody in the league.
So, right, you want to talk about, right, like a chokehold, right?
Sure.
So, didn't you just say that playoff experience matters?
It does. It does.
And
that's why I said I had a debate back and forth.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have no playoff experience?
They have zero.
Versus
they have
the
zero.
76ers. They may not have won it. They may not have gone
won
to
it. They haven't even gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They may have not gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they have more playoff experience than the Minnesota Timberwolves, right?
Yeah,
and
if by experience you mean losing. Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Is it more than the Timberwolves? Yes or no?
It's more.
Exactly, right?
It's more.
And you want to know who actually has that playoff experience? Nick Nurse, their coach, and the reason why they're having such a great season.
He is a champion. Philly's not, but he's a champ.
But you know what? He's bringing those lessons to Philadelphia, and it's why they're going to make a solid playoff run.
What does that mean?
Listen.
What does that mean?
I think they have a legitimate shot to be in the Eastern Conference Finals this year versus the Celtics.
So you're just ruling the Bucks out, huh?
Listen, the Bucks just fired their coach, right? So they can't even get right now. So let's not even go there.
Minnesota versus Philly will be interesting to revisit. I'll give you that. And again, I'm not saying Minnesota with like 10 toes in, totally confident.
No, we're just talking about those two. We're just talking about those two.
Yeah,
right?
purely
because we
basing
talked
it on
about
this year.
Patrick, we talked about Josh, and I just feel like it's a perfect setup, right? When one guy drops 70 and wins the game, and the other guy drops 62 and loses the game, but he only puts up 4 points in the fourth quarter.
Yet the Minnesota Timberwolves have the better record in the better conference.
But at the end of the day, right, results matter, right? And what you do in the crucial moments show up. And the Philadelphia 76ers, if I'm not mistaken, they're on a 7-game winning streak right now. So they're doing the damn thing.
So they're a 7-game winning streak, and yet
But
Minnesota
do you
still
also realize
better
that
record?
Minnesota had an 18-point lead in that game and lost
Saw the highlights.
to the Charlotte Hornets that are like 7 for forever?
It's the NBA though. Like teams lose to bad teams. It's
but
just
if you're
an
the number 1
season.
seed, shouldn't you show up and be better? Especially if you have this elite player in Anthony Edwards, right?
So Boston's undefeated. I mean, like Boston has losses too. So do the Denver Nuggets, right?
They're in a listen. Listen,
and they've lost to bad teams. Each of them, they both lost to teams that are like not in the playoff standings. It happens. It's the NBA. It's a much longer season.
All I'm saying, right, is that what you do in the regular season sets up.
It's a fiery episode today, folks. A lot of debate.
Listen,
a lot of debate.
All I'm saying
Love
is
it.
results matter. That's all that I'm trying to say.
But that hurts your argument with the Philly thing, though, because they haven't been past the second round of the playoffs.
But they have more experience than the Timberwolves, right? And now when the Timberwolves go to the playoffs, right, are they going to choke in the pressure moment?
Fair.
So if you can't beat the Charlotte Hornets on a random day in January, right, how are you expected to beat the Lakers, right? How are you expected to beat the Suns, right? The Clippers, right? How are you expected to step up against these teams?
Aren't the Lakers below 500 right now, though? And again, I'm a LeBron guy.
They're in the top 10, so they're in the playoff hunt. They're in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's the NBA. Teams have up and down games, and a lot of it has to do with scheduling sometimes. A team is just as likely to come out and beat somebody who's great one night, and then the next day they kind of rest on their laurels, and then they lose to an inexperienced or a worse team. Like, guess what? The Detroit Pistons? They have wins this year. Like, they're the worst team in the NBA, but they still have wins. Like, they're going to go out and beat certain teams.
But listen, but you know what? Certain teams are going to step up, right? And that's where this trade deadline is going to come in, and that's where I think the Lakers are going to make a big difference, right? The word is they're going after Trae Young, right, or Spider Mitchell, right? And so, like, listen.
Can I tell you honestly, I don't really love either one of those trades. I like it from an offensive perspective.
I don't want to be a hater, but I would love to see Mitchell in the Knicks. I think that's where he belongs. But listen, if he went to the Lakers, I can't be mad at him, man.
But it doesn't.
That beautiful weather.
Yeah, and listen. Offensively, it makes them a machine, potentially. Like, they are going to be very hard to stop with somebody like a Mitchell because it takes so much pressure away from LeBron and AD. And Mitchell or Trae Young, I think, would fit really well because they could run that pick and roll game and really unlock AD's scoring skill set, too, as well. My issue, though, is they can't guard anybody's backcourt right now. They cannot stop anybody from penetrating.
With Trae Young, I 100% agree with that.
Donovan might be a little better because, to your point, Trae Young's small. Donovan's bigger. So,
and listen, right now they have D'Angelo Russell, right? So, like, he's worse than both of them, right?
Yeah.
So
he's actually played fairly well this year, but yes, to your point,
he's had some good games.
He's not on either of those guys' level.
Exactly.
He's not. As a passer, as an overall facilitator and playmaker, he's not on their guys' level. My thing with the Lakers, though, is just think small and then maybe try to get a couple more pieces. Like, if you can go, to me, I think Alex Caruso would be damn near the perfect fit. And it's so frustrating because they had him on their team and they just wouldn't go and pay him. They were looking at other different directions. I still think the Lakers made a mistake after that bubble run, not kind of trying to bring a little bit back and maybe add pieces here and there. They let a lot of guys walk.
So listen, the Lakers love the big move, and that's why they're after Trae Young and they're after Mitchell right now.
Yep. It's LA.
I take a look at the Miami Heat. They just traded for
Terry Rozier.
Right?
Good call.
I think that's the type of move the Lakers could have made. It wasn't sexy, right? But that's a championship
And Rozier's
move.
a hustler.
He'll
fit Miami very well.
He's averaging 23 points a game right now. Right, and
Terry Rozier.
Yeah, Terry Rozier. Right, it's super surprising.
They do need another scorer with Butler too.
Exactly,
and Butler's been out, and they're still winning games.
Now Rozier has to step up his efficiency, right? But guess what? He is a legitimate scorer and additional threat on that team. If I'm not mistaken, he's only like 27 years old. So they got a heck of a player. Super
fits
young,
the timeline. You're right. I just heard that this morning.
Again, when I compare that move to the splash that the Lakers are trying to make, I think they could have like plugged in a Terry Rozier, maybe got him a little bit cheaper, and that, could have been the move to take him over the hump. Now, if they get Mitchell, then it's all worth it. But if they don't, then, I think it's a missed opportunity not trying to get a Terry Rozier or something like that.
Okay. So if you were looking at the NBA right now, if I understood you correctly, your Eastern Conference Finals right now, you potentially think is going to be Boston versus Philly?
Yeah, listen, like I said, I was up there on the Bucks, right? They've been disappointing.
You don't like the idea of Adrian Griffin getting fired?
No. I think Nick Nurse was the guy, right? If you were going to make the move to get Damian Lillard, I really think you should have made that extra effort and that extra push to try to get Nurse, right? Because I've always talked about this: coaching matters, and he's bringing championship experience, and that's why Philadelphia is having the success that they're having right now.
Yeah.
If you applied Nick
I agree.
Nurse
That's a good point.
to that. Buck situation, I think he would have helped them out more offensively. So there would have been a little bit more rhythm between Giannis and Lillard. I think sometimes it's like Lillard defers too much to Giannis.
I agree.
Right?
I actually agree with
And
that. I think Lillard should have the ball in his hands more.
Exactly. So I think, you get Lillard going, right?
Yeah.
And Giannis is always going to get his points. But again, like, shooters got to shoot. And Lillard is not taking enough shots to be in his normal rhythm where he could drop 40 at any moment, right? Versus Giannis, right? He can just, throw him in the post, right? He's going to attack the rim. He's going to get fouled. He's going to get to the basket. So he's always going to get his 20 and 10, right? But it's very important that Lillard is getting as close to 30 as possible. And I think they're missing that right now.
Yeah.
They're also not running that pick and roll that you love, right? I wish
know,
they did more of that.
I
So
know.
I think that's
They've done a little bit, but it's, to your point, they're not running it like they should.
And listen, the word is now they're targeting Doc Rivers heavy, and I think that would be a great move. The reason why it's a great move, prior to this year, if you look at Embiid's number under Doc, they've been incredible. So if he applies that same logic to Giannis while learning to incorporate Lillard, I think they're going to be much more efficient. I still think they need some more depth, right? But here's the thing: with that type of move at this point in the season, right? The possibility to catch fire and win it all, it just doesn't usually happen that way. So that's why I'm knocking the Bucks down and I'm putting the 76ers up just for that stability, right? And I think they're going to overtake him, probably get the second overall seed and be set up for a matchup with the Celtics.
So the one reason that you've almost somewhat swayed me, I haven't swayed completely yet because I still believe in what this Bucks team can be come playoff time. But the one reason that you're kind of swaying me a little bit more to the side of the 76ers, it's a weird season for the Bucks. So the coach in waiting steps down right at the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, Adrian Griffin comes in and he takes over, okay? So he wasn't the planned head coach. No. Now, not even by the All-Star break, this guy is fired. I have to sit here and ask him, what is going on within that team or within that locker room that one coach steps away and then another coach, the replacement, ends up getting fired? That makes me a little bit worried about the team. Having said that, when I watch the Bucks play, and again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched every single team, but I've watched the Bucks a couple of times. They suffer from a very similar problem to the Lakers. They cannot guard opposing teams' backcourts very well. It is hard to make it in this NBA nowadays if you cannot stop penetrating guards, because as soon as a guy beats that initial defender, gets into I always use this point because I listen to a guy, Jason Timp. He's another volume guy, one of Colin Cowherd's pod host guys. He calls it the point of attack. If you cannot stop a point guard from penetrating significantly in the post, it compromises your whole defense. Now you have a collapse in, somebody has to rotate over, and then the ball, what a point guard's supposed to do is get the ball moving. It finds the open man. You're leaving an opening when you do things like that. So you need guys at that initial point of attack that can stop penetration more times than not. I'm not sitting here saying if you're going to play Steph Curry, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, you're going to stop it the whole game. But you have to be able to stop it a significant portion of the time and at least deter it so that they can't make your defense scramble the better part of crucial situations.
At the end of the day, what I hear you saying, right, is that the Bucks are lacking defensive effort.
They are.
Right?
That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it.
Really that. It's a lot of
Dame
effort,
flat out sometimes just doesn't even look like he's trying.
But again,
defense.
Again, so remember, Dame didn't want to go to the Bucks, right?
It wasn't his first choice. You want to go to Miami.
You get set up with essentially a rookie head coach, right, in a city that you didn't want to be in, right? You're the number 2 guy to Giannis, right? And so now without that proper leadership, right, like that Ty Lue, right, that Nick Nurse, those we'll call them alpha elite coaches, Steve Kerr, right, Greg Popovich.
Even though he's going through his struggles right now too with Golden State.
True, right? But again, that's more personnel, right?
I hear you. I hear you.
So my thing though is just what I'm saying is Adrian Griffin doesn't command the respect, doesn't have the resume, right, to speak to a Damian Lillard, to speak to a Giannis.
Maybe have that powwow calling out the team.
And so far, right, because that's actually a part of it, right? There was some articles out there that towards the bubble, he said a couple things to offend the team, right? That there has to be like a lot of sacrifice.
The in-season tournament.
Yes,
after lost the in-season tournament.
And so then he sort of lost the locker room. So there's articles coming out that that's part of the reason why the ownership decided to move on.
Yeah, Shawnee was telling us you got to make some sacrifices.
Now listen,
apparently people didn't want to hear that.
But here's the thing. I give the ownership credit, right? They realized they made a bad decision in hiring him and pivoted right away.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So from that end, it's a positive, but because of that decision, you might have lost this season.
Yeah. And listen, I'll tell you this, going back to your Philly point too as well, before we kick it back over to football. If the seeds broke down, I'm trying to see this right now. Here's what if I'm Philly, here's what I want. I want Miami to work themselves up to the 4 seed. I'll stay right where I'm at, and I'll take my chances in a Milwaukee Bucks series, hoping that I can just win that. If they can get Boston matched up with Miami, that's the one team that Boston does not want to play in the playoffs. Yeah. Miami seems to have Boston's number. They just know how to play them. They know how to challenge them, and they seem to kind of know some of the little deficiencies in Boston. And I'll leave this last point about Boston. Why I'm still not 100% sold. It's Jason Tatum. And it's not a thing against him in terms of his talent. Dude's incredible. I think sometimes, though, he relies too much on tough shot making. And he can make them sometimes in the regular season, but in the playoffs, when things get more physical and things tighten up and the defense is much more ratcheted up, I don't like him taking contested pull-up threes. And if you go and look at like the advanced stats and metric, he's a much better player when he is driving and getting closer to the hoop and scoring, or driving and then when guys kind of sag off because they're afraid of the drive, he just hits an easy, uncontested mid-range jumper. I'm not saying never take threes. What I'm saying is he takes way too many contested threes that he makes during the regular season that I don't think he can count on making in the playoffs. And Miami, being a very smart team and arguably having the best head coach, in my opinion, in Eric Spoelstra running them, they know that and they can identify that. So if I'm Philly, that's kind of my hope, that the seeds break down somewhat to where Miami plays Boston first, because I think Philly outside of Boston could probably beat any other team. I really do.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to coaching, right? And
sure.
You look at the Boston Celtics, right? They're trying to, catch fire twice, right? They hire Ime Udoka, right? Do really well.
Can KB stay healthy
right?
too? Porzingis the whole year.
Right?
Yep.
But that was like really strong, I'll say, assertive leadership,
sure.
right? And then he had his issue scandal, whatever the case is. So they got rid of him, right? Then they brought in this bench coach.
He really did bring out
really
the most of that
dude.
team defensively,
he really
too.
did, right?
Yeah.
They don't have the same toughness. They don't have the same identity, right? It's his second season. They're doing well, but are they doing well because of their talent on the team?
Yeah.
Or are they doing well because of their coaching scheme, right? And so what if there was a Steve Kerr on the Celtics team? What if there was a Ty Lue on the Celtics team? I think all of a sudden those questions about Jason Tatum would be answered. Why? Because he would be put into a position to succeed, right? And so I think that's coaching.
Put him schematically into more successful positions to go and score.
Absolutely.
Catch the ball at the elbow as opposed to the three-point line.
I would like to see more movement I would love to see the pick and roll, right? And more attacking.
You got him and Jalen. You got him and KP.
But here's my thing with Jalen and Tatum. I think you utilize them more playing off of each other rather than them each getting their own turn. And so that's where I think a higher level elite coach could unlock that with them.
No, listen, I like that. It's a good point. And again, to your point with the pick and rolls, whether it's with Jalen or even if you get Jalen off ball and you have KP coming, well, now you have a completely different type of defender that's going to have to switch off and go and guard Tatum. Again, causes the collapse. It causes a lot of moving parts on defense. So to your point, the schematics for Boston is going to be key in them going all the way. But listen, you NBA heads, don't worry. It's going to pick up a lot. A lot more basketball is coming because we got 2 weeks of actual football left. We'll probably have to fill that void, the 2 weeks between the Super Bowl.
We're going to get the trade deadline, right?
Yep.
Like
a lot of big
All-Star
news.
break, right? Yep. End of the season push for the playoffs. There's a lot of that's about to start to happen.
Yeah, man, we're going to get big into the NBA, but we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the other two games, which probably won't spark as much debate as that Bills-Chiefs game. But it's all in good fun, my man. So, Lions versus the Bucks. What were your thoughts?
Baker was trying to bake, man.
He burnt 2 cookies.
Listen, one in the beginning,
2 cookies.
One in the beginning, and one at the end of the game, right? Look, listen.
That's what Shawnee said. Baker's going to bake. I said, that's the problem. He made a great batch of cookies. Burnt one at the beginning and burnt one at the end.
Yeah, listen, I think like a hell of a game, right? Detroit is such a great story right now.
It is.
I think that game.
Some of their fans think I hate them for some reason, though, because I said that Matthew Stafford was the better quarterback. Guys, I like Jared Goff for the record. I like him. I just thought Stafford was the better quarterback in that game. That's all.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but do you realize that?
But Goff won the game, so never mind.
I was going to say Matthew Stafford was Josh Allen until he won the Super Bowl.
He was.
Right? So, like, at the end of the day, right, respect is given when it's earned. Right, and Matthew Stafford was
been to a Super Bowl. He's no slouch himself.
Quarterback until he won the Super Bowl, right? So, there's levels to this.
Sure.
But listen, regarding that game, I think the defense showed up great. That offensive line.
They got after Baker a lot, especially late in that game when they needed to.
Yeah, so what was interesting, right, when you talk about defense and blitzing, the Tampa Bay Bucks didn't blitz as much as I thought they would have.
Same here. I was surprised.
The Lions blitzed incredibly.
They were very
more,
aggressive. They kept
right?
sending that nickel slot blitz, and the Bucks just didn't have an answer for it most of the game.
Exactly, right? So I thought that was like really, really interesting, and I think the Bucks had an opportunity to maybe run the ball a little bit more, right? And play a little bit more power football.
I hear you.
They didn't do that, but listen, I think overall the Lions were the better team. I think across the board we got the best 4 teams
more
in
talent.
the league.
Yeah, I agree.
And listen, the Bucks were a great story. They had a great run. They had a solid opportunity in that game, but like you said, the pick in the beginning, and the Lions pulling away. Jared Goff made the plays that he was supposed to. Got the ball in his playmakers' hands,
and there are playmakers on that offense,
across
man.
the board.
Whew. Amon-Ra St. Brown just does Amon-Ra St. Brown things, and even if he's not putting up crazy numbers, it just you're so worried about him that the behind him all of a sudden gets opened up, and some of those deep play, Jamison Williams all of a sudden goes off. Laporta is just, Laporta looks like when Kelsey leaves, Laporta's going to basically take that title
he's
as
the
potential best tight end.
Already in the league, and he's a rookie.
And listen, Gibbs, that guy has got special written all over him. He has got elite speed, and here's the thing about him. As good of a running back as he is, he might even be a better receiver. He is that good in the passing game, and it just opens up a whole other element to their offense.
Well, what's nice about the Lions is they have so much depth in their talent, right?
100%.
Jamison Williams had a big catch in that game, right? Then I think it was Reynolds, right?
Yes.
Had a couple big receptions and a touchdown.
Reynolds? No, that's the running back.
Yeah.
My
bad. So again, they're ready. And look, coaching, right? You want to talk about a culture? You want to talk about
love Dan
toughness,
Campbell, dude.
Right?
I love
Listen,
Dan
at the end
Campbell.
of the day, sometimes he's too aggressive, but you know what? He's consistent.
And
with
his
it,
players
right?
love him.
And his players love him, right?
And that's huge, man.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And listen, hats off to the Bucks. They had a heck of an effort. That was a good game. It really was. But it just seemed like every time the Bucks tied it up, bang, the Lions just went down and answered quick. And to your point, I think it's just because they were the more talented team. When they had to, they could just go and do it.
Yeah, and the last thing I bring up schematically, I wish the Bucks had gotten Palmer more involved because there was
Somebody brought that up. Yep.
On Mike Evans and so much focus on Godwin.
Yeah.
Right? I think that there was a lot of opportunity for Palmer and
Cade Otton.
Those two were
I'm with you,
like
man.
the hidden gems that weren't taken advantage of, that there were opportunities.
Yeah, listen, the Bucks definitely have a nice future. They got to work some things out with Baker, maybe get a little bit younger on the offensive line. But they have a team, I think, that could still maybe compete one more year. And finally, we're kind of up against the gun here. But
AB Moore.
Wow. Here's all I'm going to say. C.J. Stroud, Texans, hats off. Incredible year. DeMeco Ryans looks like a future superstar head coach. But you ran into a buzzsaw that day in the Baltimore Ravens. And all I got to say about the Baltimore Ravens is if Lamar plays his A-game combined with that team, to me, they look like the best team in the NFL. They look like when they come to bring it, and they are going to be tough to beat in Baltimore. I can't wait to talk about that.
Listen, it looks like you finally started to be honest during this show today, right? And, giving the Baltimore the credit that they deserve, right? Because, listen, they showed up, they stepped up.
One logic charcoal for today is enough.
Listen, everybody was thinking the Texans were in that game, but when you look through the numbers, right, they had a big punt return. And that's,
maybe in the first half.
In the first half, that's it. It was 10-10. Baltimore came out, really stepped up, shut them down.
First time Stroud looked like almost somewhat uncomfortable in a game.
So here, again.
Throwing off his back foot the whole game.
I'll say the opposite. This is where I think his receivers across the board didn't make the plays, right?
They were getting
Dalton
roughed up.
Schultz had two big drops.
Yep.
What's it called? Robert Woods,
Nico Collins.
Even Collins had a big drop. So I think he didn't have the support he needed that day to start to feel comfortable. But man, CJ Stroud looks like a hell of a player.
Oh yeah, the Texans got a bright future ahead of them. They were playing with house money this year. Only good things to come. They're going to get younger and tougher. But Man, hats off to the Baltimore Ravens, man. They look like
Got a
they
big
are
game
for
coming
real.
up.
They've looked like the best team all year, and they played like it in that game. So
Can't wait to talk about it in segment 3.
cannot wait. But that's all the time we have for segment 2. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back when we run it back on segment 3. What is up, everybody? I am your host, Shane Mallory, joined by my co-host, Ricky DaCosta. And you know what it is? It is segment 3, the final segment of the Run It Back podcast. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind all of you beautiful people, 904. That's what our follower count is right now. Try to get us to 1,000 within this next week. So please like, comment, and subscribe. We're looking for those 5-star reviews. I just realized it was one of the first times I missed that in the second segment because you just kept wanting to argue that Bills Chiefs game.
Look, and I'm just want to say this.
We came to a happy medium.
Yeah,
we came to a happy medium.
Bills Mafia. Like, I want to see you guys succeed, and you deserve a little bit more, right? So for all you people that are going to say that I'm a Josh Allen hater, like, I'm not. I see more in him.
They're going to come for you like they did for me over the golf thing.
That's all right. But guess what? Here's what I'm saying. I'm not hating. I'm saying I see more in him, right, that he needs to accomplish. Stop babying him. Stop making all these excuses. Make him more accountable so he could be less heroic, right, and more stoic so that he can win you the game and get you to the chip. Because, listen, the Buffalo Bills have been suffering like the Cowboys, right? And that fan base is too good to deserve that.
I'm with you, man. So listen, we got to talk about Jim Harbaugh right now. A lot of this talk heating up about him going to the Chargers. I just actually read something the other day that it's already certain that he's going to the NFL. It's just a matter of which.
Working out the money,
which team. Sounds like it's going to be the Chargers, but I guess I'll just ask you from the start. Do you think he ends up there? And if so, do you like that fit?
So again, why am I so angry or going on this rant about the Buffalo Bills is because the AFC is about to get better, right? Listen, Jim Harbaugh going to the Los Angeles Chargers, they're going to be a bona fide playoff team year one, period.
I totally agree.
Why? Because we talk about coaching decisions, right, and culture in Detroit and things like that.
And he's got a quarterback, too.
All of those things are going to be in L.A.,
I hear you.
Right? And Justin Herbert is now going to be pushing and fighting to be in that top 5 conversation.
Sure.
And I can tell you
the talent's there, the ability's there.
The LA Chargers are going to make the playoffs next year, right? With Jim Harbaugh as the coach, and he's going to change that culture. And that's going to be a team you have to watch out for. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, right? Palmer. Maybe you can finally teach this guy from TCU how to catch Quentin Johnson, right? Hey, look, I mean, I keep it real. Keep it real, right? And then with Eckler, right,
if they
on
bring
the bench,
him back,
hopefully,
the backup wasn't bad either. Kelly, I think was his last name.
Yeah, he's
solid.
What? He doesn't get the ball enough.
Yeah.
I do think Harbaugh would want a tough.
They got
physical
Spiller too,
running
who's
back.
also young.
I like Spiller, right?
Yeah.
But defensively, hopefully they could restructure a few things, right? Derwin James,
a little younger on the defensive side of the ball.
I think we're going to see the best
they got
out of
Rashawn
Derwin
Slater
James.
at left tackle too. They're pretty set on offense. I think they'll be fine there.
Right?
They got to go figure out and get younger on defense.
As much as Harbaugh is an offensive guy, his defenses on all of his teams are pretty solid, right? So therefore, they're going to be
look at San Fran.
The
defense are always competitive.
Right. So again, not to keep
bringing
it back to the Bills, right? But like, this is the things that got to start to make you nervous, right? The Chargers are going to get better with Harbaugh, right? Let's see what happens with Denver, right? Sean Payton maybe cleans up that team. God forbid he gets a quarterback, right? Look, second year with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, right? Let's see what happens with the Miami Dolphins. Can they finally get right, get some experience? The Patriots look like they're stepping back and rebuilding. So it's a big off season. And here's a big thing. Again, going back to the Bills, they're gonna have they're gonna be $43 million in the hole, right, on the salary cap side.
Correct.
Which is
also
also
the Von Miller contract's a big part of that.
Which is also a similar problem that the Chargers are having, that they're gonna have to clean up and cut some guys. So it's gonna be interesting to see, who gets cut and what type of movement is gonna be going on. And I just want to say one more thing. Right, Mike Evans is going to be a free agent. Watch out. You put him on a Charger. You put him on the Chiefs. You put him on the
There'll
Texans.
be a lot of contenders that are suitors.
You put him on the Texans. Man, that's going to be a dangerous squad. And listen, what about those Jags? Can they finally get it right one day?
Sure. Well, I mean, you have Evans and you have T. Higgins on the prowl, possibly going into free agency too as well. So there will be some high-ranking pass catchers that'll be on the move probably this offseason. So if Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, for one, I love it, but puts pressure on three people. The first one is Justin Herbert. Now you don't have an excuse anymore, okay? You got a legit coach in here. You got to step out and you got to go perform and you got to win big games. That's number one. You know who the two other people are?
And can I just say, I think Justin Herbert will step up.
Oh, I do too. I do too.
Right?
But he's got to do it now, you know? Because Harbaugh will take care of everything else around him and put him in position to be successful. But you know who the other two people are?
Hit me with it.
Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Because listen, you have more or less ran through this division for the better part of the last 5 to 6 years. Jim Harbaugh don't come to play, man. He comes about that business. He's about that action. If he can build the Chargers into what we all see potentially, all of a sudden, I'm not saying next year, because I agree with you. I think the Chargers will be a playoff team. But again, utmost respect to Kansas City.
They will be a playoff
still
team. They're not
going to
win the division.
But
this is the worst
give it
you
2
will
years.
see the Kansas City Chiefs. Period. They're
going
to fix that offense this coming season.
That team always gives the Chiefs, with the exception of this year, because this year they were just a mess. They give the Chiefs tough games, though. Look to the games 2 years ago. They played the Chiefs extremely tough. You now throw in a coach that knows what he's doing and is a proven winner. All of a sudden, I'm just saying, the Chiefs might have some competition in that division now.
They got to do it to prove it.
I agree. Listen,
period.
Chiefs are still going to be the favorite, and I would still pick them to win the division the next year. But it's going to be interesting to see those teams play.
So it's funny, right?
Forward.
You're saying the Chiefs are going to feel the pressure, and I'm saying every other AFC team
not
is going
next
to feel
year.
the pressure.
Not next year,
period,
but in time.
Right?
But in time.
That's why I said they're going to take up a playoff slot. So that's more pressure on every other team, right? The Bills, the Bengals,
sure,
right? The Jets, the Dolphins, right? The Jags, the Texans,
yes,
right? All these other teams are going to feel the pressure just because Harbaugh goes to the.
And another great
the
coach there with a team that has talent. Like the Chargers, it's not a matter of talent. It's a matter of culture and someone teaching them how to win.
So you talk about teaching how to win, right? I thought Bill Belichick might be a good spot there. Where do you think he ends up?
So listen, he's had, I believe, 2 meetings with Atlanta, but there's been no details about a contract.
I think the owner wants him.
Well, I'm going to give you my theory. I think Bill's waiting because I think he wants to see what happens in another place. And you and I, obviously, we came to a happy medium on that whole Buffalo-Kansas City game. But what if Buffalo decides, you know what? We can't get it done with you, Sean McDermott, anymore, and they move on. We know good old Bill, old man that he is, he likes to hold a grudge or two. I could see it in a heartbeat. If Buffalo's job opened up by some miracle, all right, and it's not that crazy of an idea, I could see Bill going there in a heartbeat and just wanting to stick it to the Patriots before he goes out. And you put Bill with Josh Allen, whoo, that's a team I would not want to see, man. Oof.
Listen, man.
Tough.
Listen, man.
Again, all hypotheticals.
Listen.
All signs point towards Atlanta.
I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
If Bill Belichick was to go to the Buffalo Bills, the Super Bowl would be in their near future. Because he would clean up Josh Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He would teach him how to play a quarterback at a high level and realize it's not about winning the game. It's about making sure you do not lose the game.
Fair point.
And putting your team in a position to succeed.
Fair point.
And listen, that would be dangerous for the NFL. Bill Belichick with Josh Allen for the next decade. Ooh, that is what the Chiefs wouldn't want to see.
Now, it's going to come down to with Bill, again, whether that's a hypothetical. We have to see what happens with the Bills and if they
listen. I think the
on.
Bills ownership just got to step up, right? Like, listen, you've seen the best of what McDermott's going to give you. Again, make a bold move, get rid of him.
For the record, I'm a McDermott supporter. He's a wrestling guy. But
listen, I like him as a coach. I think he'd fit great building in Atlanta, building.
There's other jobs. He'd get it if he got fired. He would get a job in a heartbeat.
Next season he's definitely gonna move on. You know, I'd love to see him with a team like the Browns, right? You know, another really good competitive team. But you put Bill Belichick on that team, I like that is something. And first of all, if you can't beat him, Bills fans, join him. Right? Bring in Bill, right? You want the Super Bowl. You deserve the Super Bowl. Wide right. Okay, it's time to change your narrative. It's time to change your legacy.
Buffalo. You had to bring it up. They're going to hate you again now, man. They're going to hate you
I'm
again.
telling you to go get Bill. I'm trying to help you win the Super Bowl.
I know, but you
Bills
said
Mafia.
wide right, man. They still haven't forgotten about that.
You need to change your legacy.
Holy wide right. That's what happened this weekend, too. Wide right.
You just realized that? You just
No,
realized
I'm just,
that?
well, you said what? I'm thinking wide right from the way back past. I'm talking the Super Bowl game, but wide right again, man. They can't seem to escape this wide right scheme.
With Bill Belichick, you can.
No, listen, like I said, I think all signs point towards Atlanta. I think he would get anything he wanted. Atlanta's a struggling franchise. Yeah. He would have full control. He would basically be like the GM or whatnot. And it'd be a cool story because if he were to somehow, he's going for the record. So you know that Bill, if he were to go somewhere like Atlanta, I'd say minimum he could probably get that record in 2 years with Atlanta. I don't see them winning 17 games next year. I don't see them going 17-0. They're still a young and up-and-coming team. But if he could, go and get the record, but then kind of bring Atlanta to prominence, I mean, that just does – Bill likes his legacy. I don't think Bill is a guy who will shy away from, like, talking about his own
he's
legacy.
not afraid to rebuild, right?
Sure.
Like the Patriots weren't the Patriots until Bill Belichick got
Absolutely.
there. Well, technically, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, right?
Point.
So,
yep.
Going to Atlanta, changing their narrative, changing their franchise. And listen, Bill Belichick is not no fool, right? Going to Atlanta, that's a weak division. He could take advantage of it immediately.
That division's
immediately
right,
be the best coach, right? And make a big trade and go get. Actually, I don't even think you make a big trade. I think if Bill Belichick goes to Atlanta, watch Kirk Cousins follow him.
Wow, interesting. And it's funny because I had talked about Kirk Cousins possibly going somewhere like that too. Yeah, he just would really need a quarterback. There's a ton of weapons and young talent on that team. And him with that defense, which performed fairly well this year, they had their ups and downs. The consistency, I think, would be there with someone like him. So I think Bill, one way or the other, I think he's going to be in a tremendous spot to go and get into a great situation. Well, listen, that kind of wraps up the big coaching moves, all right? We got to go to playoff game changer.
Okay.
And then we got to sit down. We got to break down these fantastic games that are coming up.
Let's do it.
So we'll go to you first. Who is your playoff game changer?
Listen, they've talked about this guy.
I got you.
They said he doesn't look right.
I know where you're going.
They said he should be a running back. They said he should be a wide receiver. But all of a sudden, he wasn't good enough to draft during the first round.
Sure.
He became available as a free agent, and nobody wanted him. And all of a sudden, he's about to be the MVP, right? A former unanimous MVP. Lamar Jackson, right, is this week's game changer. Over 100 rushing yards, over 160 passing yards,
Sure.
2 touchdowns over the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground. The man is a beast.
He is.
Right? And all of a sudden, he's on a mission. I said from the beginning, the Baltimore Ravens are all about business. There's no fun. Now, granted, those coaches was dancing their ass off. All right, so the coaches are having a good time.
That was funny.
But them players,
that was really funny.
Right, is all of a sudden they're about business.
Yep.
Right, they
They're
can
about that
smell
action.
the championship.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and all of a sudden, let me just say this.
Roquan was looking to hit everything and anything that he could.
Just let me say this.
Sure.
If Lamar Jackson beats Patrick Mahomes and goes and wins the Super Bowl,
We got a rivalry.
I don't want anyone to ever talk about any other quarterback being as good as Patrick Mahomes
Besides
other
Lamar.
than Lamar Jackson, because that would be 2 MVPs, 1 unanimous, as well as a Super Bowl, right? Do you realize he has like a 75% winning percentage?
I know.
And I mentioned this earlier. He's only thrown 44
Criminally underrated
interceptions
player
in his entire career.
That's pretty incredible. It really is.
So listen, if he wins the whole thing, I don't want to hear anyone talk about any other quarterback unless it's Patrick Mahomes.
Fair, man. How can I argue with a guy who scored 4 touchdowns and literally just dominated the game? That's all he did. Lions fans, you're going to like me, even though some of you got really cranky about me simply saying that Stafford was the better quarterback in said game. I've got nothing against the Lions. I've been a supporter of them all year. And I'm so happy that they made it this moment. It's awesome for the fans. It's awesome for the city. And honorable mention, Jahmyr Gibbs, okay? 9 carries for 74 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 4 catches for another 40 yards. The man is dynamic. He is electric. He is a difference maker within that offense. But he's only as good as the guy going out and getting him the ball. And I got one Jared Goff.
Oh, my God.
30 for 43, 287 yards.
You just want the fans to like
2
you again.
touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 103.5 passer rating. Listen, The man went out and made the plays he had to. When he was asked, he made plays in crucial moments, distributed the ball amongst all those weapons very evenly. He's got the Lions to the NFC Championship for the first time, I believe, in 30 years. It might be 33 years. I don't remember the exact math, but this is awesome, man. And the guy who was cast away from LA, Sean McVay, basically let go of him, saying, it's not even so much that like bad, but I just don't think we can get any further with you. Left for Stafford. Look at him now. He's a game away from the Super Bowl. My game changer is Jared Goff.
What you see right here is right when you're trying to kiss and make up, right?
Oh,
you know, with the fan base, this is what you do. You pick their quarterback as a game changer, especially when you threw him underneath the bus, right?
I didn't even throw him underneath the bus.
Stafford.
I didn't even throw him underneath the bus.
Look, them Lions are doing the thing right. I think right now we have the 4 best teams in the NFL in these matchups. And I think I'll just say this, right? On the NFC side, I think there's a lot. I think almost everyone is rooting to see the Lions in the Super Bowl.
That'd be really awesome.
Right?
It'd
just
be a great
out
story.
of sheer that city, Michigan just won it. It'd be real interesting if the
That's an
Lions
interesting
fan,
component I didn't even think about. The fact that
Lions
Michigan won it
fans
too.
had the opportunity to go sell out Las Vegas.
It'd be really cool. So we had Lamar Jackson and then we had Jared Goff. So it's time to get into these conference championship games. I got to tell you, I'll be completely forthright right now. As we talk about these games, I'll be making my decision on like the spot right now. I'm still torn on both of these games. But let's start with the NFC Championship. So the Detroit Lions go to San Francisco, across the country, and play the San Francisco 49ers, a team that you and I have both been high on all year, okay? I got to say I'm a little bit weary about them, but give me maybe first your thoughts on the matchup, and then you pick here first. I'll pick the second game first.
All right. So, like I said, it's a great story with the Lions, right, and the 49ers. What's it called? The 49ers, on the Lions side, right, like, they're riding high.
Sure.
Right? I think one of the things to worry about on the Lions side is, are they happy? Right? Are they, super excited to be there? Is everyone patting them on the back? And they're going to show up in a way that, they fall short. I don't think that's going to be the case, right?
Okay.
I think Dan Campbell's going to have them prepared, right? I think they all have a chip on their shoulder. Jared Goff was a throwaway from L.A. They made fun of the Lions ownership for drafting a running back and a linebacker in the first round.
Sure.
They were making fun of Dan Campbell, talking about biting kneecaps, right?
Yeah.
Is he smart enough to be a head coach? Is he just a rah-rah
Just
guy?
doesn't use the biggest words.
Right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, he can build a culture. His team, he believes in his men, and his men trust him, right, to help take him to the promised land. So that's that leadership, as well as that ownership. Let's give him credit. There were times that they could have got rid of him. And if I'm not mistaken, that Detroit Lions team in the last year and a half or something is 21-7, right? They have an incredible record right now. Now the 49ers, there's some concerns, right? Like I said, Brock Purdy didn't play amazing throughout the game. He just showed up in the last drive, right, to sort of start to change the narrative or their legacy, his legacy, right? Can he, bring them back? And that's something he was able to do, something Jimmy was never able to do.
Sure. Do we know a weather report on this game too, by the way? Because that could impact my decision too as well. But
we'll get a little
yeah.
weather. I think it's supposed to be sunny, but listen, my biggest concern in that game, right, is Debo. Right? If Debo doesn't show up and play that game, I don't think that 49ers offense is the same. Again, I struggle with the 49ers because when Debo is out, they don't get George Kittle the ball enough. Right? I think they focus too much on Ayuk, right? And obviously you can't focus too much on CMC. But I think they're missing out on an opportunity to get George Kittle the ball more. So the question is, who do you trust more in this game? Right? Do you trust Kyle Shanahan that has Super Bowl experience? Or do you trust Dan Campbell, right? This motivator, right? There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of loyalty in that team. Where are you on that?
Man, So I'm somewhat with you in terms of my concern with the 49ers. They really couldn't get a pass rush going against Green Bay this last game. That's been one of the focal points of why their defense has been so good. So we're getting the forecast too as well. It's supposed to be sunny, no rain, which is definitely good for Brock Purdy. This game, to me, from a talent perspective, I think both teams obviously are immensely talented. I think that the Detroit has the edge at quarterback. I do think Goff is the better of the two quarterbacks. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt just on experience alone, what he's done in multiple spots now. Yeah. Okay. This is now his second conference championship game. Okay. He's been to a Super Bowl too as well. So that matters. On the flip side, he used to be a Rams quarterback for a long time, and the 49ers used to really have his number. And the one thing I'll say about Goff is, as good as he is, he's a very stationary quarterback, which I think the 49ers, that bodes well for them. This game, to me, again, kind of comes down to if the Lions can shut down the run, which I think they have the capability of doing, without Debo, can the 49ers go and make enough plays on definitely a banged up and questionable secondary in Detroit, okay? And then on the flip side, can San Francisco contain all the weapons of Detroit, okay, and make it a game where Goff has to stand in there very still and put him under duress? I'm torn. I really am torn back and forth. But did you give a pick?
I did not.
You did not give a pick, so I'll ping it back to you.
Yeah, you bring it back to me.
Yeah.
So listen, my Super Bowl pick
was the Ravens and the 49ers.
Ravens and the 49ers.
Sure.
Is looking pretty damn good right now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you got to go
honest,
with your prediction that you
not
started at the beginning of the season.
Not necessarily, right?
Okay.
Sometimes you just want to go with your heart, right? And my heart says Detroit's going to win, right?
Sure.
And want to see them in the Super Bowl, and it's a great story. But you know what? Sometimes, I think you go through a big scare, you go through some challenges, right? And like I said, Brock Purdy played like trash, showed up in the big moment. I think he got the playoff experience he needed live. And so I'm sticking with the 49ers.
You know what's so funny? I feel like you just read my mind, because when I was going to come back and make my pick, the thing I was going to say was, I'm going to give the San Francisco 49ers their mulligan based on what I've seen the majority of the season. Sometimes that bye week, look at the way Baltimore came out in that first half. They were a little bit slow, shaky. They couldn't quite get into the rhythm they wanted to. They didn't know what they wanted on offense. Second half, they figured out a way. Now, another component of that is maybe San Francisco had a little bit of the same thing, combined with we all, and you and I admitted this after the Cowboys game, we really underestimated how dangerous the Green Bay Packers were. Yeah. So I more or less am inclined to agree with you. I think San Francisco gets it right this week. Detroit, it's a heck of a season. You're going to be back. You're young, but I like the 49ers.
Here's my biggest concern.
Edge out in this game.
The 49ers could not stop the run game of the Green Bay Packers.
Sure. Detroit's got a heck of a run game.
Significantly better running game, and they are extremely committed to their run game.
But they won't be as afraid, I feel like, of that play action where a quarterback could go and scramble and hurt them too as well, because Love has that aspect to his game.
But that offensive line can also block too.
It can.
Listen, the ball's going to be in Jared Goff's hands. That secondary of the 49ers is not great. So if that, the reason why the Lions are in my heart, if that offensive line neutralizes that defensive line, the Lions are going to win the game with their running ability. Game over.
Okay.
Right? But I think Brock Purdy is going to step up. I think Debo is going to show up to that game. He might be a little, drugged up, medication up, and he's going to feel no pain.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
I think they call
even if he just comes out in the tunnel, like the team was even saying that matters from an energy perspective.
Even using him as a decoy. I think if they smarten up, they use him as a decoy, and they're going to have to account for him, and then use everyone else. That's what I would do, but. I am going to, like you said, give them their mulligan, and I'm going to stick with my Super Bowl pick with the 49ers.
Okay, so you're going to go with the 49ers. All right, so we're both on the 49ers. Okay, we're going to go. We think they got their mulligan. Let's go to the other side now.
Let's do it.
Because, listen, and it's not like I'm not looking forward to 49ers-Lions game. These games are all must-watch. I think that's going to be. But this is the game. Right here. This is the game, because
Lamar
I'll tell
Jackson,
you. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes.
We just had Mahomes and Allen, and we saw how that ended.
Yep.
Now
this is Rocky. This is Rocky and Apollo. Yep. I mean, this is whatever rivalry you can think of. This is it right here.
Absolutely.
breakdown of the game. So if I'm looking at both teams from a season-wide perspective all year, I think there's no question that the Baltimore Ravens have been the more impressive and dominant team over the course. I mean, you look at all the good teams that they played for the most part, with the exception of in their division, obviously. Divisional games are weird. Dominated the 49ers. Dominated the Lions. Dominated the Dolphins. 3 playoff teams, okay? That defense is ferocious. It's fast. It flies all over the place, okay? Package that with, this is Lamar Jackson's best group of weapons he's ever had around him, okay? The Ravens, to me, are the most complete team. But those dang Kansas City Chiefs, man. Those dang Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, I bet against them one time all year. And, of course, it got me burnt last week, all right? To be the man, you got to go and beat the man, all right? And Kansas City is the man right now. You know, even if it's not in KC, it goes through the Chiefs to determine whether you're going to be a Super Bowl team. I think the game is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth type game, shootout. I think you're going to see the best out of both two quarterbacks. I'll save my pick, give you a quick little analysis but then I will pick first.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I think about the Lamar Jackson and that offense, right? Last year they would face 8-man box, right?
Sure.
All the time, right? They were literally number 1 in the league facing an 8-man box,
Yep.
Or 32nd in the league, depending on however you want to look at it. In this particular case, they're at 14, right? Those offensive weapons, right, forces the defense to not load up the box against the run. Lamar Jackson looks so decisive in that game, making quick decisions, right? And running the ball. I think he's going to do that again. I think he's going to have over 50, 60, 70 yards, right, on the ground. That defense is incredible, right? There's just an overall defense takeaway, total sacks, points against.
Led in all 3.
They led in all 3.
I think that might be the first time in NFL history.
In NFL history that happens. The Kansas City
Sacks,
Chiefs,
point totals, and turnovers.
Right? When the moment is biggest, they step up.
They do.
Right? So let's think about during the season, right? They lost against the Eagles, right? But if MVS makes the catch, completely changes everything.
Winnable game.
Right?
Winnable game, yep.
Against the Buffalo Bills, right? If Kadarius Toney isn't offsides, right, Kelsey makes an epic play of all time in NFL history.
Arguably a game-winning touchdown.
And win the game, right? And so the Kansas City Chiefs have been there all year, and through blunder, right, through self-implosion, right, they've lost all of these games.
Sure.
However, in the biggest moment, they shut down the Dolphins, right, the hottest team. Now, granted, the weather had a little bit to do with that.
Beat them up, though.
2, the Bills, right? Everybody picked against them, right? Not shut them down, but great game. Did what they were supposed to do. The defense shut down that offense in the second half. So will the Chiefs do the same thing and shut down the Ravens in the second half? Or is it the Ravens' time? Does Lamar Jackson take off and takes, and dethrones Patrick Mahomes? Who do you think is winning the game?
Okay. As much as I've sat here and I've debated back and forth, Lamar, I love you, man. I really do. I think you're a fantastic quarterback. I think the Baltimore Ravens sticking by you just showed that their belief in you as a person and as a player has really paid off. You deserve every bit of the MVP this year, and I love how far you've gotten your team. But I have to go with the devil that I know. And until I see somebody beat Kansas City in the biggest moment, I got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs winning an absolute thriller of a game. Patrick Mahomes gets the ball late and wins the game in a crucial drive. Kansas City Chiefs.
Listen.
Sorry, I broke up your Super Bowl pick. And honestly, I'm not even mad if I end up being wrong. Because if Lamar made it to the Super Bowl, I would be just as happy.
Yeah.
I have to just somewhat go against your pick. Because if you get that, it's like crazy that you called it from the beginning of the season. So
listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm here to pick the Kansas City Chiefs. But
there needs to be some kind of hot take noise right here.
But I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not gonna do it. I am riding with B More. I talked about Michigan being a team with destiny.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, it pains me to pick against Patrick Mahomes because I'm not gonna lie to you. In my head, the Chiefs are going to win this game.
I know.
Right?
I went with a head over heart.
But in my heart,
my heart wants
right?
the Ravens. My
in
heart
my
wants
heart,
it for Lamar.
And based on this moment, we talk about setting up for success.
Sure.
I think the Ravens are going to step up and win this game, and with the defense.
So again, you went heart over head. I went head over heart. Pretty phenomenal games. But listen, that is all the time we have for this week. But don't miss us next week. We're right back to recap these games.
Hey, Baltimore!
I'm Shane Mallory
Ricky
with my
DeCosta.
co-host, Ricky DeCosta. We'll see you next week when we
Run it back.
Run it back.